From the Hummel studio, this is the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Let's play.
Welcome to the Football Show here in the Hummel studio, and if you like what you're watching, don't forget to join us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Alan Ruff, Gordon Parks and Tom McManus are with me here. We're sponsored by Cameron Commercials. If you want a quality new or used van, then Sean's your man. Get on to CameronCommercials.com and he'll help you with the van that you need for your business. Delighted you could join us, and the main headlines that we're going to discuss on the programme tonight. Scottish clubs' prospects are on a knife edge after the European competition. We can get your thoughts on that. The Dundee derby takes centre stage as the only fixture in the Premiership this weekend, as all the other clubs decide to take that rest fixture ahead of their return legs in Europe. And there's new signings on the horizon, lots of speculation at each club. Players could be coming in before the end of the transfer window. Tell us who you think your team needs. So that's what's on the agenda, and we'll also cast our eyes towards the south of this country, towards England, because the English Premier League starts back, and it's 21 years since Arsenal had the gold emblem on their sleeve as Premiership champions, and they are indeed going to have that as they kick off the English Premier League against Coventry. So, Football Show, we love our game, we love talking about football, and we might as well kick off talking about the games in the Europa Conference League last night, because I was at Fir Park. Rangers were at Ibrox against Jablonec, away in Gent, Hibernian, and Hearts were at home to Rapid Vienna. First of all, Rangers 1-0. Not at their best, Tam, to say the least. He still hasn't got that engine running smoothly.
No, he hasn't, but I think at this stage of the season, he just needs to start winning games. And I know the performance, you want the performance and the win, but back-to-back wins, I don't think it's been great performance. I thought they played well against St Mirren, but last night, first half, they get booed off again. So there's something not quite clicking at Ibrox at the minute. They're signing players willy-nilly. There's another probably 2 or 3 to come in. He's got a very, very deep squad of players. He seems to have been sticking with the 4-3-3 with Ndidi as a lone striker, with 2 wide men, which is working for him just now. And they get the win last night. Listen, all it counts is over these 2 legs to try to get through into European football after Christmas. So, good result, average performance. There's still something missing, but at this point in time, Derek McInnes just needs to go on a run of games and winning.
I wonder if you could put your finger on, Gordon, who you think has been a good signing that's managed to hit the ground running. I've got 2 in mind.
I'll give you one. James Penrice is a brilliant signing. You talk about boys coming into big clubs and handling it and coping with the demand, looking as if they want to be there, looking as if they really want to relish the opportunity to go and show how good a player they are. And Penrice has done that. He brings a balance immediately to the team, he brings an energy. His only problem is he's playing alongside Gassama in the left flank. I don't think he was used and overlapped enough last night. He wants to go and demonstrate just what he can bring to the club. And I'm looking at any other additions that have made them better. I can't think of any.
What's the centre half's name? Is it McCann?
Do you know what? I watched him.
I think he looks pretty solid at the minute.
Times.
You've got to give him time.
He's young. He's young, and listen, frankly, he's playing alongside a bomb scare at the moment. So, so we've got to mitigate that.
Yokota has been a good signing. He looks as if he's got something about him.
Again, I was talking about James Penrice. You come in, you deliver. You're earning money now that you hadn't had before. Go and earn it. 20 minutes in a game, 10 minutes in a game, flashes. You've got to put it together. You've got to give it more consistency. Listen, I watched him light the place up last Thursday for 15 minutes. You've got to be better than that.
Well, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, not every professional footballer can hit the ground running. The other point I was going to make, Ruffy, on this is we can talk about individuals, but collectively the scores and the wins are all that matter, especially when you're going for the title or you're trying to, qualify for European competition. And as I look at last season, you could have quite a number of defeats, draws, slip-ups, call it what you will, because quite simply Celtic and Rangers were in turmoil. Hearts were able to take advantage of it, and other clubs were able to take the scalp of Celtic and Rangers. Derek's desperately looking for the team to click early because the fans know that Celtic don't look as if they're the same disjointed club that they were last season.
No, there's no doubt about that. And the evidence there of the Champions League game was there for everybody to see. I know we're not talking about that game just now, but you know, if I was winning 3-0 at home, I would go, no, that's a banker to get through. I'm not too sure. I thought they were no bad.
Yeah, so you are going to talk about that game.
No, we'll get it later on. But you're right, no, the Rangers, there's inconsistency there, and obviously the supporters believe that as well, because there wasn't the same numbers at the game, and as Tam's already identified, the boos, they're expecting a wee bit more. They were promised 9-10 new signings. They were expecting a new Rangers. They were expecting...
Well, they have had them. They have had 9 and 10.
Yeah, no, but they haven't been getting the results that the supporters are expecting when you get these new players in. And you're right, you know, that the wee Japanese wide boy, he looks the part, but he's going to fail defensively. On that side of the park, any balls over the top of him, there's going to be a massive gap. So he's good going forward. You can see why they're trying to get Czerny, you know, because that's what he did. He lit up the place, begun by people. Interesting to see if they get him, but I think they're just a million miles away from having a settled 11.
Ruffy, for all the money they've spent, they haven't been able to identify somebody with a bit of guile. Right? That person that can go and show a bit of class, see things in front of them, play it forward quickly.
I mean, Gassama missed a sitter last night. I mean, he was 3 yards out.
He did. Only Gassama can tell you how he missed that. It's another example. He's just not got that quality levels to go and deliver when it matters. These are big games. I mean, again, financially, these are important, massive games. 1-0's nothing.
Yeah, would you sell Fernandez?
100%.
I know Bayer Leverkusen.
If they can get the money in, if clubs of that stature have been coming to watch him, they've been coming to watch him with blindfolds on, right? Because he has got all the fundamentals. But there's a lot of players with the basics, athleticism. He's a threat in the opponent's box, but he can't defend. If they're willing to spend the money that's getting talked about, absolutely get him out the door, because the base that Rangers are working from is a flawed one, because you get pure defenders there.
He looks as if he spat a dummy a wee bit, Manny Fernandez. When I've seen him in the last couple of games, he looks as if he's trying to stroll through games.
As if he believes he's better than he is.
Yes, I think he looks as if he's... I think you're right. Looks as if he thinks he's better than Rangers. He thinks that there's been sniffs of big clubs in the Bundesliga. He thinks he should be going to there, and he's kind of down tools a wee bit, and the Rangers fans are starting to turn on him as well. Whereas this time last season, when he came into the team, they were raving about him. You know, and a lot of Rangers fans would be happy. I think because his attitude on the part, his body language, I think the Rangers supporters would be happy to take the money for him now.
Yeah, well, they're still sniffing around Cozier Duberry as well.
He came on last night for Brighton.
Yeah, you know, so there's still a link there. They missed out in Drieck, but I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, it's a clean sheet. They've got to go back over there and hope they can do it. And I have to say, I have my doubts about it at the moment, because Chermiti's a blow. I don't think Nadiri is the long term. And I'm looking at their bench and I'm thinking, are there goal scorers there? Can they wait for Shanklin? Can they get in? I think the biggest problem with Shanklin is the way this team is playing at the moment is not geared to the type of player he is.
It's going to be the character test. This will be the one that, can they go away? Can they play against a team which, by all accounts, aren't as good as the one that knocked them out of the Europa League? I doubt that as well. I just think that they're all over the place, middle to front, and they're hoping for the best. And you hope for the best at this level, you end up ultimately failing, and I think they will.
Ruffy, the Devlin tackle. I mean, you know, it was just an act of gross stupidity. I mean, it could have been a leg breaker.
Yeah, initially I didn't see it. You know, obviously the two of them sort of collided and went down, but obviously VAR...
Were you on Channel 5 at the time?
No, at all.
I was just going to say. No,
Were you watching it?
Well, I wasn't watching it, but that's a fair thought.
I thought it happened so quick. It was one of the ones that happened quick, but obviously when you see everything after it, it's a red card all day long.
I think the still pictures make it worse than it was. I think if you look at the still, his foot's high, he catches him in the shin. If you look at the tackle in real time, probably was a red card, but I don't think it was a shocker. I don't think he's wanting to do him. I think he's trying to win a penalty kick. He's trying to put his leg in between him and the ball, and he was bent high. I think Derek actually said the exact same thing after the game. But you're right, Peter, for an experienced player, and he's the guy, him and Shanklin are the two guys that I think Derek needs to do well. I think he's brought him in. the first players that are going to get it after Derek McInnes, the manager, is going to be Shankland and Devlin, because a lot of supporters are not convinced that they're the quality that he should have brought
just
in.
come off the bench, exuberant, excited. He wants to make an impact. He knows that if he makes challenges, the Rangers fans will roar behind him.
But he started well when he came in.
I like him.
They were raving about him.
I think he's perfect.
You know,
for Rangers, but
I
think
actually
they need
thought he
somebody
created
alongside him
something.
that he can give the ball to.
But do you not think Derek created a position for him at Hearts that nobody saw? I mean, the year before he was viewed as this nasty little, guy who picked up yellow cards willy-nilly, fouled people, broke up the play. Derek suddenly made him a number 6 and he was coming, taking the ball off the back line. I thought, he's managed to find him a really good position. So, again, the only problem I think that he's got in the immediacy of the expectation that the Rangers fans have is quite simply, he can't allow anybody any time. He needs people to kick in right away, and he's not getting it.
Knowing enough about him as a person, he's exactly the temperament and the personality that Rangers should be signing. He wants to go and show how good a player he is. I thought he was the best midfield player in Scotland last year, so he's tested. At what he does, there was nobody better. He was a massive figurehead in that Hearts team last season. He's over the moon to be at Rangers. His money's gone up. Expectation levels do go up with that.
Yeah.
But I think with the right players alongside him, he's an upgrade on the players in the position that are already there.
I think that's his biggest problem. The players run about him.
Yeah.
They're not complimenting him. He's doing his bit. He's putting a shift in. The players run about him, just to earn the up to speed.
Do you know what else can mask the problems? If you've got goal scorers who are scoring goals, Ruffy, if you've got goal scorers and you're suddenly winning games, people can forget about an Emmanuel Fernandez throwing the dummy out of the pram or, thinking he's better than he is. But it's tight, it's nervy. Games are, draws against Dundee United, not good enough. Celtic going 5 points clear, not good enough. Excuse me, a double whammy coming up against Celtic. All of these things while you're struggling just to get the mix right is it all adds to it. And if you haven't got a goal scorer, suddenly you're starting to think to yourself, how are we going to get out of certain situations? And the problem also, again, we've all highlighted is no service, Ruffy. There's nobody with a real trick.
No, there's nobody in the midfield with a trick, but at least at one stage they're getting the ball to Gassama and he's putting balls into the box. There's nobody with any quality in the end to finish the bits that you're getting. I mean, by all accounts, before Devlin gets sent off, I thought Rangers were the better side and they just needed that second goal, to settle them down a wee bit. But obviously, when he gets sent off, they come back into the game and then they had a couple of chances. So, I think there's just a wee thing just missing. Just to put the spark in, but you need to put the ball in the back of the net. They had a couple of chances.
A lot of these guys that have been signed for big money aren't bad players. There appears to be a culture of absolute terror. That first half last night, with the consequences of Rangers in Europe, the size of the game, how many of them vanished? There's authority in that team.
We've said it since the beginning of the season.
By the way, taking a touch in the middle of the park at Ibrox at the moment is a daunting prospect because there's a reaction quickly to things. There's no patience.
I like Dragicevic.
Again, a good player, but is he get the balance around the team, the middle of the park? Who's responsible for what? It's all a hodgepodge at the moment.
Yeah.
And you're right what you say. Fundamentally, the key thing: if you get somebody that you can trust to go and put the ball in the back of the net, if you go and you create and you put the ball in, everything's alleviated. You just don't have that.
I'm looking at the bench at Ross McCrory on the bench, Shankland, apparently the captain, on the bench, Connor Barron, still jury's out from, and he's not, I think Connor Barron's a good player, but he's just, whether they think, the Rangers fans think he's good enough to be in their midfield, I don't know. Asgard, hot and cold, Devlin, again, Lyle Cameron, a signing that hasn't worked out, Nedeljkovic has just been signed, Miovski, nowhere to be seen. No. And then you've got Liam Kelly there, Raskan, McCausland and Curtis.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a particularly strong bench. I think that Derek's given up on Asgard already. I just think he's not having him. Not even him bring him on the pitch last night. This is the thing with Rangers, and I was thinking about it last night. When you're a Rangers supporter and you go 1-0 up at home in Europe against a team you're well on top of, they want to go and get the second and the third. Derek McInnes took a forward-thinking player off and put Devlin on to try and shore up the 1-0. Listen, I've seen Derek's won a lot of games as a football manager. But that's what Derek does. Derek will put centre-halves on and centre midfield players on to try and see out games. Right. And if that doesn't work at Ibrox, he's going to get slaughtered for that.
See, from a purely coaching perspective, you just got too many players that are masters at circulating the ball back the way. And that has become the story of their season. Take St Mirren aside, which, by the way, they weren't particularly great, but they demolished a poor St Mirren team. Circulating the ball backwards, is it coming from Derek? What is it? What is it? Because I've been watching Rangers now live for 6 months, and I don't see any bravado, any creative spark, somebody prepared to go and do something different. They're all too happy to play safe.
Do you think they're playing with fear?
100%. They've been playing with fear for... I think there is a culture within that dressing room of terror, and they play with terror because I watch them, and good players turn into backward players, refusing to play the ball forward, going the safe option. If that becomes it spreads throughout the team, nobody's prepared to take that responsibility, and I think Rangers are absolutely an example of that.
I wonder if, a mix of that, Ruffy, and the fact that you've got it's almost like a baying supporters group who are just quite simply on their case for every mistake. The results are not good, on their case. The booing, on their case. That fear factor is coming in, where you're scared to do it. Or is it a case of, as quite a lot of people are looking at and craving for, and I'm not necessarily saying Rangers are also just the only club at fault for this, but you have certain managers that have got to say you need to be brave. I mean, it's like last night I was at Fir Park. Alfred Johansson, like Jens Bertha Laskow, said, listen, if you make the mistake, you make the mistake. You need to be brave. You need to take the ball in difficult situations. You need to break lines and go forward with it. And I wonder if Derek is giving them that message, or they just have the fear and are unable to fill the shirt and understand what it means.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when you bring a new player in, you do due diligence, and the way the modern games now is how many assists has he got, how many goals has he got, many miles does he put in. It doesn't test the character of the individual, because I've said it on numerous occasions, most of these new guys that are coming in haven't been walked out that tunnel and there's 50, 60,000 people screaming down your neck. When you're winning, it's great, give me the ball, but when it's not winning, it then becomes a mental thing. So then you've got to test the players who can handle it and the players who can't, and there's too many in that Rangers player just now, and for last year as well, when things weren't going well and the boos all started, they go into a shell, and when they go into a shell they start being individuals. They're not team players, they're looking after number one.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Ruffy, not me, Gov, is not... Rangers, I believe, have a sense of that without the kind of core. John Brown, Bomber Brown, tells a brilliant story about his debut for Rangers. And he said to as soon as 5 minutes before he was supposed to go out, what do you want me to do? And he said to him, if I've got to tell you what you've got to do, you're at the wrong club. He said, but if you turn your back on the ball in front of 45,000 people out there, I'll move you on quickly. He understood then what that meant. Rangers are just turn their back on the ball. Not me, Gov, not my responsibility. I don't want to be the guy that they're getting the fans are going to terrorise, because they are at the moment had enough. They're at a breaking point and they're ready to pounce.
But I think it takes more than just ability to play for Celtic Rangers. I remember speaking to Barry Ferguson, I think he maybe said it on this show, where new signings come in with big pedigrees, playing at big clubs, and they come in training, we're going, he looks the business. And Barry would always say, well, wait till we're 2-0 down at home at half time. Does he still want the ball in the second half? And there's a lot of that going on at Rangers at the minute, where if Rangers, like last week, 5-1 up, 3-1, 4-1, players wanting the ball, showing for the ball, trying but outside of the foot passes. They wouldn't try that at 1-0 down and 2-0 down, because as Parks said, the baying mob would be right on them right away. So it does take an iron mentality, particularly I think at Rangers, to go and play in front of that crowd when you're getting beaten, you're not playing well. And Rangers have not enough players over the last 5 years, since COVID, where they've had enough players that when they're getting beat 1-0, when they're not playing well, when the fans are on them, they've still had the balls to go, Gives the ball, I'm going to go and try that pass.
Here's a kind of double whammy to that. You've played at Ibrox when the fans have started to get on their own backs, right? So
that was your team talk every time you went there. Keep it tight for 20 minutes. Yep.
You want then to be the guy who's inflicting as much pain in these players who haven't got the character to respond to it.
Okay.
How many times have Rangers and Celtic over the year, and I'm not saying every player, at the end of the season, they identify the best player in Aberdeen, they identify the best player at Hearts, Hibs, and they sign them, and it doesn't work. No, it doesn't work just because of their ability. It doesn't work because they're coming into an environment that they're not going to Aberdeen, they're not getting to Hibs, they're not getting to Hearts.
Have to win every week.
They're not getting the pressure of dealing with everything that goes with it.
With all due respect, it is not players predominantly that they've bought from Scottish clubs who are the ones who are the guilty parties.
I know that,
There is
but-
a list I could give you of players that they've invested money in from abroad who've come into Ibrox, taken money under false pretences, can't fill the shirt, and suddenly have gone quicker than you can say Rangers Football Club because they've just not been good enough, or they think they're good enough, or they're causing havoc in the background, or they don't have the mentality and then they just down tools. So there's a mixture of that. But the ultimate thing here is he's got a 1-0 victory. Do you have the sense that they can go and get through to the Conference League here? It's not great money for them, but it's what they've got.
I think they've got it within themselves to go there and get a draw.
Do you see it?
Yeah, I think they could, yeah. Because obviously...
No, I don't think you could. Do you think they
Yes,
will?
I think they will. I think they could get a one each.
Derek McInnes experienced this before. What's he shutting his eyes at night when he goes to bed after last night thinking, this is too much for me? Because he's not been in this movie either. I think the world of Derek. I really like him as a person. But has he ever been pushed to this level of expectation? No. So he's finding his feet as well. Do I think this Rangers team have got the character to go there and get through? No.
Tam?
I don't think 1-0's enough. I don't see enough in this Rangers team to go there and get a draw. I think they'll get beat over there. I think they'll go out.
Okay, I may as well throw my tuppence worth in it. I think they just might edge it. Just.
Yeah.
And I did say that prior to the game. I thought it was going to be a painful 2 legs for them.
It's a wing and a prayer. We're all saying that. Of course, we want Rangers to get through. The Rangers' pedigree, the whole stature of the club needs to play in Europe beyond August. But it's a wing and a prayer. It's hopeful. We're now talking about where's the evidence to show, give us a conviction that we believe that they're good enough to go and do that. Again, it's not about ability, it's about character.
How many players do you think they need?
Another 6.
Parts of Hummel will be sponsoring the players, never mind the club.
Just one side,
3 buses.
right? Or 6.
Parts of Kirkintilloch might need to go somewhere else.
How many players do they need?
Yeah.
Tell the truth, Ruffy.
I don't think 6 is going to change the team. I think maybe 2 or 3 would be, if they're good quality coming in.
3. Striker, wide player, creative midfield player.
Okay, not a defender.
I think they're okay at the back.
Okay.
No,
Okay, 3. Okay. Give us your thoughts. What do you think? How many players do they need? Or is it just a case of just give them the time and let's see if they can develop into a side given that time? Do they have that time? That's the big question. Okay. And the other thing which also heaps pressure on you is when you look at your greatest rivals and they are recording a 3-0 win over LASK. I don't know about you, Ruffy, but... It was, and I'm going to be, and I'm trying at the start of the season to the best of my ability to be as positive as I possibly can when I see great performances. So let's start with the positives. Celtic, when they scored the goals, and a number of players played magnificently well. And I think, a lot of Celtic fans are thinking, 1 foot in now, barring a catastrophe, group stage Champions League football.
Yeah, the scoreline would make you think that way, but I think anybody at the game would know that this team are not a bad side. They create chances. The goals they scored
20
were
shots.
very good. Yeah, they had. As I said earlier in the show, I think any other game, if I'd have won a 3-0 at home in a European game, I'd go, right, that's it, done and dusted. I think it's going to be a very, very hard task to go over there. And the first goal, obviously, Celtic get it, they win. If they get a goal, they'll get their backs up, and it could be a hard night. But in the evidence of the other night there, we need to see that this defence can handle that kind of pressure. We've not seen it before. They had a couple of chances again, but 3-0, it's buoyant, and the difference between at Parkhead than at Ibrox is when Celtic get that first goal, the whole place lifts. I mean, the whole place lifts, the players lift as well, and certainly the boys that scored the goals were superb.
Yeah, I mean, technically, the goal from Nygren, instep, roof of the net, and then Duran, who's not even playing in the position he wants to play in.
Yeah, I think Martin O'Neill spoke about it after the game, about firstly Duran. It wasn't just his final pass, his final shot, everything like that. That was superb. You know, he scored 2 great goals. It was his work rate. I think you've seen him maybe 10, 15 minutes to go, sprinting 50, 60 yards back to help the fullback. He'd done that all night. So he looks like a kind of Maeda with a brain, to be honest with you. He looks as if he's got the ability and he's got the work rate and the pace. He looks a sensational signing for $4.5 million already. Nygren's one that's probably split a lot of the supporters, but I think they're now coming down to how good a player he is. I think that his technical ability in the final third to see a pass and to finish, to execute with both feet is phenomenal. Great finish, just bounces in front of him, just guides into the top corner, doesn't try and lash it. I thought Hummel was excellent as well without getting the goal. He's now given Celtic a focal point to get up the pitch, and Martin O'Neill's always played with players like that, Suttons and Larsons, and even guys when he was at Leicester City. That was a missing thing for me last season about Celtic. It was someone that can hold the ball up and play off it. You can play off it. The Celtic players trust him now. The ball's going to stick. You know, you've got Jan coming across the face. You've got Nygren coming across the face. You've got Duran on the wing. Celtic looked really, really good going forward. So that's the positives about it. The negatives for me were it was never a 3-0 game. Never a 3-0 game for me. I thought that they had a lot of opportunities. I thought the goalkeeper for Celtic was excellent. I thought a couple of very tight offside decisions went Celtic's way. And I'd be concerned a wee bit about the 2 central defenders, pace-wise, because I think the first 5 minutes when the ball was played through, Cameron Carter-Vickers on the turn was like a asthmatic snail.
I thought he was throwing a caravan.
Yeah, the guy just ran away from him. So I'd be worried about him, I'd be worried about Trusty. I think Celtic need strengthening in that department. But Donovan, best game in Celtic jersey as well. So a lot of positives for Celtic, but I don't think this tie's over. I think Celtic will need to score over there.
And a big apology to all of the Maeda family on the suggestion that Duran is Maeda with a brain. Just in case the whole nature of our group, fans, people watching, they always look for the negative on it. I understand where you're coming from with it, but nevertheless, Maeda was, as Martin O'Neill pointed out, basically a one-man demolition for most of the teams last season. At the tail end, he was absolutely magnificent. But Duran has been superb. To the negatives of it all, I genuinely feel as if while Celtic missed Cameron Carter-Vickers last season, and this almost sounds, like something I shouldn't be saying, but he's not as good as everybody makes out he is, but he's a steadying influence domestically. But European-wise, I think Celtic's back line is still suspect.
Without a doubt, and I think Celtic have got to show a different side of themselves. Away leg's completely different. I mean, they play with 2 up. They've got pace, they've got physical presence. Tam's right. That could have gone a different way. Luck was on their side. Cameron Vickers brings an authority to the back line. He's a talker. Donovan coming in, massive, surprised me how well he coped with that and how good he looked. Hamstrings are Cameron Carter-Vickers' problems. I don't think he trusts his hamstrings. And when you've been out for as long as he has, there's going to be an issue. He's never been the quickest. He looks like a heavyweight boxer at times, playing at the back. But he's a dynamic presence there. So I think Celtic are better with him. But they do need an authoritative, mobile centre-half to complement him.
Yeah.
You see last night, Peter, that Celtic played a very, very high line in the first half. They were very brave in getting after them in the press. I'm not sure. I think Trusty's got decent pace. Carter-Vickers hasn't. And I think fair play to Celtic for getting after them and trying to win the game at home. And they've done that. And they played the very, very high line. But 2 or 3 times, wasn't even a good ball. It was just a lump over the top. Chasing back towards his own goal, he looked exposed. So if Celtic are going to play that way, going to play with that bravery and really play the game in the opposition's half, particularly against quality teams, that could be an issue through the middle.
There's no need to do that in the return.
No.
And also, if
they won't keep that high line.
First half hour, Ruffy's right. If they score first, problems. Give it half an hour. Stink the game out.
Yeah. If I was being honest with you, Ruffy, with a club that spent nothing in the transfer window, right? I mean, that is the facts. I'm not having a go at Celtic. I'm just telling you that they've got a surplus of money, even with the money that they shelled out on very good players. I think the 4 players they've bought have been excellent buys because they're in that kind of a quality area where they can enhance what Brendan Rodgers was craving, which is a player who's got definite qualities costing them 6, 7, 8, 9 million. Fair play to them. They deserve credit for that. If you have a surplus of money and you're going to try and supplement that squad now, I would bolt the back door. Colby Donovan, I thought that boy deserved tremendous praise. He was excellent. But they need to find if Johnston's injured or going to be sold, they need to find a quality right back. The boy, Landon Emmanuel from Chelsea, is coming in as a left-back cover for Tierney. Okay, that's fine. But I think the centre of defence, if you're going to spend a wad of money to the same level as what you brought in already, I would look for somebody to supplement or be the guy that if Cameron Carter-Vickers goes out, you can put him in with a Trusty or a Scales. I think they definitely need to bolt the back door. They want a goalkeeper, we know that. They've been linked with wingers, but I still think they need a dominant, creative, holding, call it what you will, somebody who's got a bit of physical height, presence, technical ability in the middle of that park.
Yeah, I think you've covered mostly everything, but I think the Celtic supporters would say, well, in the midfield just now worked very well the way they play. I thought last year Celtic were so predictable. It was all the other teams had found out, right, they get the ball, they play the ball wide and they put it in for Maeda. Maeda's pace. But now they've changed everything. They've got a striker now who's given opposition centre-half something to think about. They never had that before. Because Maeda's doing all his running about, everything at feet, but now this guy's got a physical presence, he's coming short, he's heading things on, he's holding the ball up. So if you're a central defender, you're getting your work cut out this year because it's a different breed now. And as I've already said, the midfield are all getting around about that 18-yard box. They're all prepared to be run about when the ball gets floating about to have a shot for 18 yards. So it's a different Celtic team this year. I do think the Donovan boy will be eventually a top-class player, but he's now been thrown into European football, which is a big test for him, so they're a wee bit vulnerable there. They did identify, full-backs were coming for different, better teams, but obviously they went back to their team. So I think they need to identify somebody who is, if it's down in England, it's somebody who has been playing top-class football down there to cover.
Yeah, I had a list there of potentially the players that they could buy. They've been linked with a winger as well because, sometimes I think Yang, who's done well, can go blow hot and cold. But I think now because the pressure of the fans on the board, I think what they're doing is they're saying to themselves, okay, we're going to listen to the fans, but we're also going to first and foremost listen to the manager. And the manager has said, listen, start emptying out the squad. It's top heavy. So get rid of a number of players. Some of them I think will go out on loan who are just not going to get a sniff of a game. But he's wanting quality rather than quantity. So I think from that point of view, that's why I think they're listening to the manager and saying, okay, they're about to get another 40 million as a boost if they can get past this team LASK. I think they'll be looking and saying to themselves, right, we're going to have to really push the board out for that quality centre-half, that other winger, possibly a striker, because obviously I do think they'll move Johnny Kenny on. I do think they'll start to look and say there are some players that are they're just not cutting it, we're going to move them on. And can you see them removing Hatate? He came on as a sub.
Maybe that's just shop windows type stuff to give them a wee taste of it and maybe people watching. Yeah, I think that Celtic are still light in the striker. I think if anything happened to Casper Hogh, then they'd be in trouble. They've not got that physical presence. I definitely think, I agree with you, I think they need to spend money at the centre-half area. I think they need to go and spend £10-15 million on a good centre-half, right-sided centre-half. I think Trusty and Scales, left-sided centre-half, are fine cover. I think Carter-Vickers is a good player, but he's injury-prone. I think if he goes down, then you're really light there.
Where do you go to buy that kind of player?
I don't know.
It has to be Europe, right?
Aye, I don't know where you're going to go.
Getting into England.
Yeah.
Unless you're bringing somebody in as loan, that's not happening.
Well, they must have changed strategically the way they're recruiting.
100%. Well, tell you, that's a great point. John Park, when he was there, Virgil van Dijk, either the player they were bringing in, that's not happening. So we'll all have to spend money or go and spend money on a loan player and pay for somebody that's wanting a challenge again to play in England. I don't think that's where they'll actually look. They'll have to go to Europe and speculate.
They'll go to some maybe a Dutch league or a Slovenian league, Slovakia, somebody like that who's a top centre-half there, young centre-half.
But Peter's point is
spend that money.
That hard work to go and unearth a big centre-half, somebody that they come through and look at the money they made on him. I think that's gone now.
No, but I think they've got rid of the Tisdale scenario.
They have.
I think that somebody out there has clearly earmarked 4 really good players
Yep.
in a market that they weren't shopping before. They were all on their projects of 1 million, 2 million, but they've gone up a level.
I think Mark Fotheringham's role at the club since he came in has been crucial, and I think he's a student of the talent that's available. It wouldn't surprise me if he's had some kind of impact.
I think he's had an impact in Bauer Boy.
Right.
With Germany, he's obviously been in Germany a while. He's obviously seen more German players than we've all seen in teams. So
Bauer's a player, Ruffy.
yeah, he looks he's got that be something special when he gets into forward areas. He's good. He's got a wee trick here and there, and I think supporters like that.
Yeah. Okay, that's Celtic. Elsewhere, what about the Hibbies? What about that? Owen Eldon could have actually given them the result that put them in dreamland.
Yeah, I think if you're a Hibs supporter watching that last night, you've got what an opportunity you've got Easter Road next Thursday. I was disappointed in Gent. I thought they were poor. In the last round, they were 0-0 in the 2 legs and then 1 in penalties. So I just didn't expect a lot of goals in this tie. I think they're struggling to score goals in Belgium. Hibs are the same here.
Did you see the boy with the sitter?
Yeah, I mean, that was a kind of chance they had, but I wasn't impressed with them at all. I thought that Hibs were pretty comfortable. That obviously penalties a big decision. Josh Campbell scored one at Ibrox a couple of weeks ago. Could he maybe have taken it? I don't know, but listen, Hibs would have taken an 0-0 draw, burnt your hand off at the start.
It's annoying when you have to wait such a long time before you get to take the penalty.
Yeah,
as well.
and it was a poor penalty.
Do you think so?
I thought it was a really poor penalty.
Do you not think about the keeper, Ruffy? He got right over to his far side.
I thought the goalkeeper dived early and got away with it. Come off his line.
I thought it was
Just
a poor
before he
penalty.
hit it.
See if the goalkeeper goes the right way, it's not a goal. See if you whip one right in the corner and the goalkeeper saves it, then fine, that wasn't in the corner. I thought it was a poor penalty. But listen, we're on to next Thursday, full house at Easter Road, nothing to fear. I'm praying that Hibs can get through that. They've never been in the group stages in European football. Aberdeen's have been in at Hearts, teams like that. I think it's time that Hibs gave something back to the supporters and the owner who's putting their money in. £45,000 behind the bar yesterday for the Hibs supporters in Belgium.
Why would we know there?
Yeah.
Why
Deary me, you tell us now.
45,000. They paid for all the drinking food in the bar.
£60 for a
My 2 friends were there. They drank net all day, free. But the owner was there, and the owner was mixing with the supporters. So I think for guys like that who are putting their money in, I think Hibs need a big performance next Thursday.
That is a sensational stroke there, isn't it? By the way, can I tell you something though? There are some clubs at the moment where the owners and the people who communicate have got it right. There are some clubs where they just get it right. That is a stroke of PR genius. The ultimate thing for it that any fan cares for is to get the group stages. David Gray deserves credit, Ruffy.
Yeah, they certainly do. Obviously, they brought Big Malky in and all, and he seems to be doing things behind the scenes. But I mean, I think Hibs have learnt their lesson for previous managers that they've had. The PR hasn't been exactly top notch, So the owners are, they're on the ball. That okay, winning games every week, but keep the fans happy. Because there is going to be a wee bad spell. But if you've got some in the bank and giving them £45,000 is something a supporter will remember. Oh well, maybe we gave him a wee bit of leeway here because
There's only a select few, Ruffy. Let's get real.
only 50 of them.
Exactly. 50 Hibbies, 45 grand. Absolutely ratars. The one thing I was going to say to you though is let's not be worrying about overall opinion, because yo-yo opinion here changes week in, week out. Sacked, keep them, sacked. But
Well, I hope they're a lot better than what they were against Thistle, because that was pedestrian. I think they have to up their game a wee bit. And again, like we were talking about Rangers going away, there's a wee bit of pressure on Hibs now, players. There's a wee bit of pressure on their players to get the club to where they've never been before. So let's see how many of them can handle it.
Many signings.
More for Hibs. I think they need to get people out the door as well. A couple, the manager always wants a couple.
They're missing a striker, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're missing a striker. I mean, a big boy Nathan Lowe goes and works his hard, and he's not the answer for me. And I think Hibs at the back look very, very solid. I mean, I watched the game last night. O'Hara and Kerr were excellent. 2 full backs. You've got Chaiwa, who I spoke about, had an outstanding game last night, but it suited him. He just went and broke play up. He's better without the ball, I said a couple of weeks ago. You know, Mulligan in there. They're pretty well set defensively. It's the forward areas for me. It's that wee bit of quality. It's a latter pair, Scott Allen. You go and thread balls through. But they've got enough, certainly, I think, to go through next Thursday, but they're going to have to be better in the final third, and they need to try and bring a striker in before the window closes or two.
The big question with Hibs is always the same in Hearts. How big a club do they want to be? How big a club do they believe that they can
They should be in the Conference League's group stages. Clubs of Hibs, Hearts, Ilk, they should be, because I look at clubs every year, and there's teams for Finland and, you know, Ireland, you know, and in that group stage, you think, how did they get in there? And
Next week's going to be definitive again for Scottish football. Is it navel gazing again, or with somebody to trumpet? Can we get our teams through? Can we get 3 of our teams through? Or is it going to be another, let's evaluate exactly what's going wrong? We'll find out. These are big, big moments.
I think if you're looking at, excuse me, I think if you're looking at realistically how many, it's 3 tops.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and with that,
I think Hearts are capable of going through.
No, I think Hibs have got a great chance at home. I'd like to see them with a couple more signings. You know,
Top end of the park.
yeah, definitely. I'd actually like to see them with somebody with a bit of guile on the wing. You know, creative. But nevertheless, I beg your pardon. Hibs to go through.
Great result.
You?
Yep.
Yeah, Hibs to get.
Yep.
So, with that in mind, Tynecastle. Again, Ruffy, I think I got it in the neck from a couple of jambos of suggesting, you know, that I was quite critical of their back line. Their back line is the problem, because it's giving away too many goals for me, in Europe especially.
Yeah, I think the evidence was there the other night there, you know, that any ball into the box, there's no a commanding leader in there who's taking charge of anything that comes in there, and they're all over the place. Going forward, yep, fantastic. Great goal again, probably goal of the weekend. But at the back, if you're losing goals like that, you're always vulnerable, particularly away from home in Europe. You know, this team have got a bit of quality about them. So I think it's going to be a really, really hard one.
Do you know the thing that I see with European teams, and especially domestically when we've got championship winning sides, managers who highlight the need, Gordon, to stop the cross. Stop the cross, close them down, make sure that the distance between the winger and the defender is minimal, so that you're not going to get the angle to get the cross in. When Rapid Vienna scored their first goal, they were able to play a short corner. He was able to take his time and then guide the ball into the penalty box, where a guy glanced it into the roof of the net. And everybody's looking at each other, and I'm thinking to myself, he'd half an hour to play the ball into the box.
It isolates 2 big problems in Scottish football at clubs that are looking to punch their weight in Europe. It's the crime of not prepared to take the ball tight. We don't do it. You do it here, we do it in Europe. But switching off and not understanding the professionalism required to go there and be solid and prevent the cross from coming in. Week in, week out, watch the goals that are scored. It's fundamentally a flaw, and it's a lack of discipline, professionalism, and switching on quickly. European teams are drilled to do it quickly.
Martin O'Neill's team doesn't do it, Ruffy, because they are drilled to close it down. That was a Martin O'Neill trait that he mentioned to Didier Agat and Alan Thompson. Stop the cross. And if it is going to get in, then Martin's style first time around was big 3-5-2, 3 big giants, bang. You know, then it's not getting in, especially if you're coming up against a diminutive striker who's scared and yellow, like your man here. But nevertheless,
That's not yellow.
but nevertheless,
Golden.
Martin, this time around, Colby Donovan was throwing himself at it. Kieran Tierney equally so. And the other thing that I think Tam correctly pointed out, when you've got a Camilo Duran tracking back to double up. You know, and you're asking similarly Yang and Tannadice to do the same thing to help Tierney. They are hell-bent in stopping the cross.
Yeah, I would like to think that the top quality sides, that's what they work on. You know, you've got Monday to Friday to say, right, this is a team who are very good if balls are coming into the box, so we need to stop it. And that's what you do. You just train, stop balls. If you ask any manager after a game, you know, and they lose goals for balls coming in the box, the first thing they say is, we've got to stop the ball coming in the box.
How many times have you heard managers in your career? I can hear it now. I can hear it now.
Stop it.
Alec McLeish was big on that and all that.
Right. It was massive. It was a big part of the coaching week.
Yeah.
Stop the cross, prevent it, understand who's going to take you inside or outside, make sure that you match up properly against that. Well, I'll watch it again though, right? I see games in Europe with teams. Scottish teams don't give it tight to players. It's always safe in space. Whereas European teams play triangles.
Technically better than us, but what I would say about Hearts, Peter, is from what I've seen of them, if they can sort their defensive line out, I think going forward, they're going to be a big problem in Scottish football for a lot of teams, because I look at guys like Calvin Miller, McPake, Braga, they've got some real quality. James Wilson's goal last night. They've got some real quality middle to front Hearts, and they just need to tighten up at the back, and I think they'll be bang up there again this year.
Do you know what they don't have quality? They don't have a striker. The back line is poor, but they don't have a striker.
Yeah, they seem to be persevering with Kabore and Bassey.
They're not going to score goals, Tam. Kabore's not going to
Maybe
score
James
goals.
Wilson, but obviously the goal last night, maybe he will be running the team. You know, they've went with the foreign guys. Maybe James has been sitting under their nose all the time, but I like them going. I think McPake's going to be an exciting player to watch, and Calvin Miller and with Braga, if they get a striker, I really like them. Reno and maybe Spittle in the middle of the park. I think middle to front, they're really good, Hearts, really good. And it's a total opposite, I think, for Hibs. I think Hibs look very, very solid at the back, and the two midfield players are solid. Going forward, they don't look as if they're going to score a goal. Hearts are the complete opposite.
Strange with Hearts, Ruffy. If it was me personally, I think that whole we're missing this excuse, we're missing Halkett, is just falling on deaf ears now. It's time to get a central defender in who's a bit of quality. It's also time to go and get a striker that can score goals for you. And then even with that, I don't think that Blair Spittle is the main man in the...
He likes him, but I think he likes him. The manager likes him.
I'm just giving you what... I go to Tynecastle, I go to Easter Road, I actually go to games, whereas most of you have got a Russian satellite and you've never been to the ground unless I drive you there. But you've got to watch them, and I'm saying to myself, if it was me and I was looking to strengthen Hearts, definitely a central defender, definitely a commanding midfielder, and almost certainly somebody who's going to get goals for you.
Yeah, we'd like to think the Hearts have identified that themselves. I know what you're saying about Blair Spittle, but Blair Spittle has matured a wee bit. You know, I don't know if he's a centre of midfield player. When with us, he was wide, coming in for wide position. Great technique with the ball at his feet. You know, great delivery. They're missing that if you're playing them in the middle. But you're right. You have to say, have they got the quality to go away from home? Because this team looked pretty reasonable on numerous occasions the other night there, and I think it's going to be a hard one for them.
So Scottish football, all the community is going to gather at St Andrews shortly and discuss the problems, how do we correct it, what are good ideas and bad ideas. Here's a good idea. Allow James Wilson to go and blossom and give him an opportunity to go and take that jersey. Please. Because he's absolutely crying out to be given a run of games and go and show what he can do. And he's got everything there for him.
And you've got him, you've got Miller, and you've got McPake. They're all Scottish.
Absolutely. And by the way, you've got two guys here that have managed to rehabilitate themselves, who are drifting out of the game.
Is there anybody in their academy? This is the thing.
So we're always talking about this, right?
Two of them have just went. I think one of them or two of them just went to Man City. This is the issue.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it forever because.
How many do you think they need?
6.
I think they need 3 as well, Peter. I think you're right. I think right down the spine of the team, centre half, centre mid, striker.
Yeah, go with that.
Yeah, okay. Listen, I was at Fir Park. He sent me a text.
I heard you after a minute.
Let's go.
He sent me a text. Now, I'm going to say to you, I sat down. I was walking in, and one of my pals' brothers was there.
I feared for you.
I'll give you a wee bit of story. One of my pals' brothers was there, and he's walking in with his girlfriend, and they're walking hand in hand, which immediately, sent the alarm bells off because I was going to give him pelters saying, listen, you're not holding hands, get into a game. It's a big match, get your mind on it. And he said, this is my girlfriend, it's her first Motherwell game. And I thought to myself, pressure right away. She's either a jinx or she's going to bring good luck. And she was full of the happiness. And I thought, am I going to put a dampener on this? And he says, what do you think, Peter? And I said, you're going to get pumped. It's as simple as that. And he wasn't happy.
Yo-yo, man, he said Motherwell were going to win all week.
No, I wanted them to win. But I go in, I sit down, Ruffy. They kick off and they score in 2 minutes.
A great goal as well.
What a goal it was. It was fantastic. It was everything that Motherwell do well, which is bump, 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 up the left side, crossover, goal. The whole place is going bananas. And the whole
Is that atmosphere as good as it gets?
Oh, it was brilliant. It was brilliant, right? The fans were fantastic. And I looked around in the press box, Tam, and everybody's looking at each other and we're thinking, this is mental. But honestly, after the second minute, slowly but surely, the Germans just started hunting in packs. And when Motherwell, and I think this is where he deserves great credit, Ruffy, Alfred Johansson, like Jens Bertha-Lasker has said, keep trying to play. Keep trying to play, and they pressed them. Freiburg were all over them, pressing them, getting the ball back, then keeping possession. And you knew it was only a matter of time before they got the equaliser. And then in the second half, same again. But I think he deserves tremendous credit because, as I said at the end of the game,
Go and having a go, aren't you?
they played football without the fear. They tried. And they were just up against a better side technically, who've spent over £100 million. Their team, their starting 11 was worth over 100 million. They'd sold a boy only last week for 60 or 70 million. So they are way out of their league. And I'm sorry, one Motherwell fan was raging with me on social media because I said, Motherwell are out. Well, they are out. They've been beaten 3-1 at home, but they go out with no disgrace for me, even on the first leg, because they were brilliant.
Yeah, you would like to think the normal Motherwell supporter would enjoy what he's seeing. You know, if you're going to a game every week and seeing your team performing and trying to win a game, not trying to sit in and spoil the game, and you're getting entertained by certain players. I mean, you would think that, okay, you're getting beat 3-1. You would like to think, well, walking away for the game, you saw your team trying to put in a shift. Okay, they won't win it, but I mean, at least week on week, if they continue to do that. And the most thing about football clubs is you want fans in. Motherwell have got fans in now that they've never had before. I don't know what their average game would have been, maybe what, 3,000 or something. It must be 6, 7.
8,000 there last night.
Over 8,000.
Yeah, so the fan base is there.
Yeah.
The fan base is there, and if you can get them buying into what you're doing or what you're trying to do, then it only gets better.
And fans would rather see you playing like that and getting beat 3-1 than parking the bus and getting beat 3-1.
Yeah,
Or 2-0.
I agree with you.
Go and have a go. Listen, I said that they're outclassed with Freiburg. You're right. The numbers I've mentioned, a different stratosphere for Motherwell. And when he's at Motherwell, to go right, okay, we'll just sit in and try and go and play. To go and play the way they have been playing is brave. It's brave coaching, and I think the Motherwell fans would have still given him a standing ovation last night, and been looking forward to the second leg.
Tom, I'm glad you said that. The Motherwell fan base, to a man, woman, and child, stood up and gave them a standing ovation. I was sitting there and I thought to myself, this is exactly the blueprint that we were looking for and craving for in our game. Okay, they've gone out. We're still looking for whether it's a Think Tank 3, a summit at St Andrews. We're still trying to work out how we get our clubs to play successful European football and have more Scottish players playing technically the way they're playing in Europe. But I'll tell you right now, Motherwell's fans were world class.
Brilliant. A really enjoyable afternoon. If you're scheduled to go to any Motherwell game, your appetite to go and watch it's completely enhanced, more than any other place to go, because exactly as you say, this is the way forward. Can other clubs look at it, please, embrace it, and at least take something from it? A good club, brilliant community club, do a lot of work, reap the benefits. This has not just happened over 3, 4, 5 seasons. They've been working hard in that community for 20 years, and there's a real connect. Their academy is a successful one. They've got good coaches, good people around that club from top to bottom. And then last night, I'm glad you said that about the standing ovation. They understand where they are and what their expectations are, and they understand the efforts that are being put in and rewarded for
And
it.
they've made £14 million in the last year and a half.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Celtic Rangers and Hibs for me, Ruffy, through.
Yeah, I would think if you would have been realistic, that would be it. I think any of the other two, well, the other one, I don't think Motherwell will, but the other one would be a wee surprise.
Parsley?
I've only one many confidence, I think, Hibs.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hibs and Celtic.
Celtic, obviously, yeah.
Celtic and Hibs.
Okay. Give us your thoughts on it. What do you make of it all? Just before we talk about the weekend matches, we've got a great competition. It's absolutely free to enter. All you need to do is click on the page. We'll put the link there. It's on the video as well. It's about you. If you know a boys or girls team who wants the full squad kit from our sponsors Hummel, then you can take advantage of it with these details.
Hummel. Let's play.
How would you like to win a full Hummel team kit for your boys or girls team? Well, you can in our fabulous competition, and it's absolutely free to enter. PLZ Soccer and Hummel have teamed up together to give you the chance to win the full kit. And here's how easy it is to enter.
Entry is completely free. Simply click the link below and enter using one verified email address. One lucky team will win a full Hummel kit for 16 players, including shirts, shorts and socks. Terms and conditions apply, so don't miss out. Enter today.
Such a good competition. Good luck with that. Absolutely free to enter. And don't forget, next week we'll be back with the Predictor as well. Lots of great weekly prizes, monthly prizes, and of course at the end of it you could win a car or £10,000 in cash. There's only one Scottish Premiership match on. I'll be going to it, Ruffy. I don't know when was the last time you were in Dundee. Did you go to the V&A with your wife?
No, I did go to Dundee United when I was on the board at Thistle. I've been in there.
Yeah.
Who's their big
Free food.
Who's their big supporter, or the biggest supporter that they have? Well known.
Lorraine Kelly.
Well, is that her?
Dundee United?
No.
Ricky
Mail-
Ross.
Mail. Who?
Ricky Ross.
Ricky Ross. Yes.
Yeah. Were you there with him?
Yeah, he was there. He was
Tell you a Ricky Ross story.
You're going to now. They're going to now.
When I was at United, we sat in any games, midweek games and all that. Ricky Ross had the habit of standing up on his own for about 5 minutes and always left 5 minutes before the end of the game, but he always stood up,
Let everyone know he's leaving.
to let everyone know.
He sang dignity, you know.
Can I just say something in defence of him?
Go on.
I had him in the studio and one-to-one, and you would never meet a nicer guy.
Sure. Yeah.
Brilliant. And of course, the other thing about it is, Ruffy, if I was thinking of my top 20 songs, Scottish songs, he's in there with Dignity.
Oh, yeah.
Was he not part of the board?
It's a great song.
Was he not part of the board at one point? No.
I don't think he's ever done that, has
I
he?
thought he was always there at Wages Day.
Oh, God almighty, is that the best you could offer today? Honestly. By the way, just out of curiosity, tell the two gags that he's ever told in the golf yesterday.
Oh, I can't. The boy, you tell him.
Guy said to me yesterday, says, listen, if you're struggling to sleep, don't eat licorice at night. I says, how? He says, you'll be dreaming of all sorts.
Right, so that one's rubbish. But the other one I didn't mind. What
Ruffy will tell you that one.
Ruffy.
His wife went to the airport to go on holiday, and they were looking about the duty free, and the woman said to her, you have to buy this perfume, it's a new thing on the go, and said, what's it called? It said, it's called the Flintstone. He says, and how does that work? He says, you just dab-a-dab-a-doo on it.
Equally right.
They both get paid for this.
Oh, honestly, by the way,
Ruffy's put that in his act.
can I just say to you, Gordon, we always talk about it when we play football, because sometimes if I'm lucky enough to play with professional footballers, and I include him, there are levels. There are levels of people, and when I realise the after-dinner circuit, I know the levels when I'm speaking with them. You know, there's Champions League, and then there's Vauxhall Conference. Anyway,
Ruffy's a latter.
I'm looking forward to Tannadice because Dundee
great
United.
atmosphere.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. This whole city will be buzzing. Dundee United against Dundee, and I think from Stephen Presley's impression of it all, you know, he's brought Bobby Wales in because he's lost Simon Murray, and he'll be looking and thinking, can we replicate, you know, that win we got against them last season? Can they do that? It's a great matchup. I can't work out who's got the upper hand here. Obviously, home advantage might sway it.
Yeah, I think in the football side, I think both of them are equal. I think just the home advantage for me. It was disappointing the Dundee United support last week against Celtic.
Yeah, very
You
poor.
know, I would like to think they would get behind their team in this in a derby game and fill the stadium, because it's a great. We keep on saying year on year, we need as many derby games as we can.
Yeah. Parksy, who's winning it?
Home advantage. And I think, listen, Celtic game last week, you're right, attendance was poor, but this is a city that engages with us. The derby is a different kettle of fish. I've been up there long enough to understand exactly what it means. I just think the home advantage is a massive thing because it's so tight.
Parksy, you going for Dundee United?
Yes.
2-1 Dundee United.
I'm going for Dundee. I think
Win it.
an Elvis masterclass, 2-1 Dundee.
Yeah. Okay, United, I just had written it down there, they made 12 signings this summer. Dundee have impressed, obviously a disappointing defeat against Aberdeen in the Cup, but I think this has got 2-2 written all over it. I'm going to go for a draw in this one. Who's going to win the English Premier League just before we go? I'll give you my 1, 2, 3, 4 if you can give me your 1, 2, 3, 4.
Arsenal. Liverpool. I think Liverpool will be there. Man United. Don't know the fourth one.
Okay, I'm going to go Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, Man City.
Oh, Man City 4th.
Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea and Man City.
Oh, there you go.
I think Man United will win it. Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City.
Okay, there you are. I'll keep that little bit of
You know
video.
what's amazing about that?
What?
Haaland still plays with Manchester City.
Yeah, they're going through a transitional period. We'll wait and
I
see.
think Man U will be strong this year.
Yeah.
To do thereabouts.
Yeah, and I think Areola might take a wee bit of time to get what he's looking for at Liverpool. Anyway, it's all about opinions. We give you them. Jokes, rotten, opinion, wee bit of banter here and there, but we love the fact that you engage with us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel if you do get a chance. Good luck with the competition, and of course over the weekend I'll be up at Tannadice. I'll be coming to you live on TikTok, live on our YouTube channel as well. Hopefully you can join me and give me your opinion. You can speak to me and ask me any question that you want. From Tam, from Ruffy, and from Gordon Parks and myself, Peter Martin, thank you for listening and thank you for watching.